Órale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin. And Familia, we are down to the divisional round. Familia, it's the grade 8, elite 8, ocho, el ocho. That's all you need to do. You don't need ESPN ocho. Familia, it's the best. This is the best weekend of football. This is the absolute best weekend of football that we're gonna see all year. There's gonna be 4 great games. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait for this to happen. Also, I can't wait for you to give us a like and subscribe over on YouTube. Please make sure go to Familia FFB, go to YouTube, make sure you give us a like and subscribe. Por favor. Really appreciate it. And also, I want to make sure you're going to Fantasy Points. Familia, we are a proud member of the Fantasy Points Media Group. You're getting 30% off. Best of the best. You're getting the rest of this year, which is all the way through the Super Bowl. And then you get, and then whatever you subscribe to, you get it all through 2023, through Super Bowl in February 2024. Get in there, get 30% off. No promo code needed. Nada. All that's, you just get in. So, Familia, it's as I mentioned, it's the Elite 8. It's the best divisional round of the NFL, and oh man, we just got such great football this week. And I'm going to be going through the 4 games. This is going to be kind of a shorter show. I was going to have a guest, but you know what? I thought I'm going to make sure we've got we get through the 4 games, give you something bite sized, maybe do this thing in about 25 to 30 minutes. Give you all the information you need to get to set up both your DFS and also any prop bets you might be looking to put down, Familia, because this is it. So I'm looking at, first off, we are starting off Jacksonville at Kansas City. They're 8.5 point favorites. 53-point over under. This is according to DraftKings Sportsbook. Okay. The weather is looking like 37 degrees, partly cloudy. Wind is not expected to be a factor in this game, Familia. And this is a rematch. These two teams met earlier this season. The Chiefs won 27-17 in that game. So it gives you a little bit of a blueprint. But you know what? In that time, the Jaguars just got hot. Caliente. They only lost once since then. So Trevor Lawrence has played phenomenal football in that time. So kind of a different team. So I'm expecting a much better game this time. So let's start with Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be $6,000 on DraftKings. Familia, that he was a tale of two halves, tale of two cities, whatever you want to call it. Hey, our guest from last week, our invitada de lujo, Dame Overboard. Muchas gracias for joining. Muchas gracias. Oh man, I hope you're still on a high, because I'm still on a high from that show from last week. It was phenomenal, and I think we won people some money that last week, so it was fantastic. So let's get into that Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence at 6,000, four interceptions in the first half. The team looked dead, 27-0, and then all of a sudden came roaring back. He threw 288 yards, 4 second half touchdowns. So it's 288, 4-4, one of the weirdest lines you're going to see in a long time. In his last 8 games, he's got 4 games with 3 touchdowns or more. And the other 4 games, he has either 0 or 1 touchdown in each one. So he's kind of like, he's all over the place. Against the Chiefs last time, he did throw for 259 and 2 touchdowns, added 26 yards rushing. So could be doing a little something there. Kansas City, they're number 28 against the quarterback, and they've allowed 14 touchdown passes since week 11. Joe Burrow, I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. He went for 286 and 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing TD in week 13. Russell Wilson had his best game of the season with 3 touchdown passes, 247 yards in week 14. But since then, he's also the best quarterback that they've gone against. So that just tells you what the Chiefs have been doing against that position. The passing yardage prop is 249.5 passing yards for Trevor Lawrence. I'm hitting the over on that one, Familia. Let's go over on that one, because he's hit that mark 4 times in his last 8 games. And you know what? With this being an 8.5 point over on 8.5 point spread, that means that they're going to be chasing points. That means they're going to be doing with the passing game just like they did last week. And when he's going to the passing game, the main guys that he's going to be going to, these are the only guys you would need to talk about in DFS this week. That's Christian Kirk, 6,000. Zay Jones 4,700 and Evan Ingram, the tight end, at 4,300. It's the Chiefs are number 9 against the wide receivers. Somehow they're the fantasy points are all kind of wonky when it comes to the quarterback and the wide receiver. You think they'd be a little more interrelated. Keep in mind that Kirk went off on the Chiefs for 9 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jones added 68 yards. So, there is some precedent. The Chiefs, they have had they've been giving up some yardage. They gave up some yardage middle of the season where Jamar Chase went for 7 catches, 97 yards. In week 13, Josh Palmer, 8 catches for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 12. But the high since Kirk has been 55 yards. So no receiver has gone up that. So I'm looking at this one. I want to, if I'm gonna recommend to anybody, it's Kirk. He's gonna be getting the targets out of the slot, and that game is going to be too because they're going to also need to run run quick. I mean, throw quickly because of the fact that, well, hey, you know what, the Chiefs have a very good pass rush. They're going to be in Trevor Lawrence's face a lot that game. So I think he's going to have to be getting throws off, dumping it off to Christian Kirk in the slot. Kansas City is also number 23 against the tight end. So, something to think about. If you want Ingram, I think he's a little pricey at 4,300 this week. I think you either get pay up for who we're going to talk about in a little bit, or, pay down on somebody cheap. Someone that I am really touting this week is Travis Etienne. He's 6,400 on DraftKings. He's the number 4 running back this week. He went for 20 carries, 109 yards. He added 1 catch for 12 yards. This was last week against the Chargers. He's got 100+ scrimmage yards in 4 of his last 5 games. The Chiefs, they're giving up 129.9 scrimmage yards to the running back. 5 running backs this season have hit 100+ scrimmage yards against Kansas City. I'm looking at that rushing prop of 67 yards, though 67.5 yards for Travis Etienne. I'm going to hit the under on that one. I think he's going to I think he's going to get some yardage this week, but I think it's going to have to be a mix of rushing and receiving. I don't think he gets to that because I think they're going to have to abandon the run and go after the Chiefs in the passing game. Speaking of the passing game, Patrick Mahomes at 8,000 is the most expensive quarterback this week. He's got an incredible passing prop of 315.5 passing yards on this one. Now, that may seem like a high number, but he has passed that number 9 of his last 12 games. Last time they met Jacksonville, 331 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. In the last few weeks, the good quarterbacks that have gone against Jacksonville, you got Jared Goff, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, though. And last week, Herbert got him for 273 yards and a touchdown in a very weird they should have run the ball a lot more in the second half, didn't, and I think that's what cost them the game. So the good quarterbacks against Jacksonville are getting home. They're giving up 249.5 passing yards per game. I say Mahomes is going to go over on that number, and Jack, on that one. And the other one I'm looking at is Travis Kelce. I know it'd be an expensive stack because he's 7,700 on DraftKings. But the Jaguars, they're 29 against the tight end. These are numbers since week 12. Okay, these are weeks 12 to 17. And last week you got Gerald Everett. I wanted to say Chris Everett. Yes, for those who love tennis. Alberto, do you like tennis since Chris Everett? So welcome. Thank you for joining us. You know what? When we're looking at Gerald Everett, last week he went for 6 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. So I think it's very well that the stack you can do an expensive stack and get home with Mahomes and Kelce, because you know what, we still don't know who is the primary target outside of Travis Kelce. Okay, because MBS He was the high when the last time these teams met. He was the high with 3 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. He was also the high with 13 targets in his last 2 games. That's for the high among the wide receivers. So what's the best way to predict the pass catchers for DFS? I'm actually looking to go cheap on these guys. Juju at 5,100, I'm passing on him. Kadarius Toney 4,100, I'm kind of intrigued because I think they've been giving him the ball close to the end zone in the red zone. So some possibilities in there. MVS at 3,800 though, he's my dart throw out of this one because he's gotten the most targets outside of Travis Kelce. Jaguars are number 14 against the wide receivers, but also keep in mind CeeDee Lamb, 7 catches, 126 yards, and 0 touchdowns in week 15. So big, lanky, fast wide receiver. That's why I like me some MVS this week. Down to the running backs, Jerick McKinnon is at 6,000. You got Isaiah Pacheco 5,500. McKinnon has 9 targets in the last 2 games, and he's got 9 touchdowns since weeks 13 to 18. It's just it's set up for him, and this is the time where he really shined. This is the point where the Jaguars, who do have a very good pass rush, maybe they put some pressure on Mahomes. He's got to dump it off to McKinnon. I think he is someone that I'm very much considering this week. I'm not just considering Pacheco so much. The Jaguars, they've over the course of the season, or over the course since week 12. 122.5 scrimmage yards per game. So, but I'm looking at McKinnon being more of the threat in this game. You've got some running backs. Derrick Henry hit this landmark twice. Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, they're the only running backs to go over 100 scrimmage yards against Jacksonville this season. So I'm looking at this game. I'm calling the Chiefs winning 31-17, going under in this game. So that 53 is just a little bit high for me. I think the Chiefs are gonna take it home. Let's go over to Philadelphia, where the City of Liberty, Rocky statue, the whole thing. I'm hearing all sorts of banter going back and forth. And when I say banter, you know what I'm talking about. Basura talk between the Giants and Philly fans this week on Twitter. It's at Philadelphia. The Eagles, they've got their first round bye. Philadelphia 7.5 point favorites, 48 point over under. It's 40 degrees, overcast. Not expected to be particularly windy. You look at the last 2 games, Philadelphia swept the season series. They won 48-22. And then in week 18, when the Giants sat everybody, it was 22-16. The Giants, they're visiting. Daniel Jones at 5,800. I mean, he was a revelation last week when it came to DFS. At 5,800, I mean, he was just absolutely caliente, electric, whatever you want to call it. 24 completions on 35 attempts, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also rushed for season high 17 times for 78 yards. So no more rushing attempts. That's the most rushing attempts he's had all year. He's had 10 plus rushing attempts in 4 of his last 6 games. So he's got a rushing prop of 45.5 yards. I think he's going to get that. I think he's going to go over that. I think he's going to get flushed out of the pocket. He's going to take several rushes. So hit the over on that rushing prop, Amelia, because the Eagles are the number 1 pass rush. So he's going to scramble. I think he's going to get 45.5, 46 yards just on scrambling alone. I'm not talking about designed runs or anything like that. That pass rush is number 1 in the NFL with the 88.6 PFF grade. Dak at 347 yards. It was the only quarterback this whole season that surpassed 300 yards against the Eagles. Also, to keep in mind when it comes to the rushing upside for Daniel Jones this week, Justin Fields went for 95 yards against them. Dak went for 41 yards. So there is some success against them. When it comes to the passing game, I'm looking at Isaiah Hodgins, Richie James, and Darius Slayton a little bit. Hodgins had 25 targets in the last 3 games. Richie James, 25 as well. Darius Slayton had 19. So Hodgins is 4,900 on DraftKings. You've got Slayton at 4,200 and James is at 3,900. Now, here's the interesting thing: the last time that these three started was in the 48-22 loss. James had the best game with 7 catches on 9 targets for 61 yards and a touchdown. The Eagles are number 16 against the wide receiver, giving up 126.3 receiving yards per game. CeeDee Lamb in week 16 went off on them for 10 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. Christian Watson in week 12, 110 yards, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 1 touchdown. So, that's why I'm if I'm going to spend down on a wide receiver, I'm going all the way down to Richie James on this one at 3,900. So over at Saquon at 7,900, he's feeling a little pricey on this one. He had a beautiful game last week, 14 touches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Perfección. But you know what? Here's the thing. He didn't play in week 18. He was one of the many rested starters. And when they played in week 14, he had 11 touches for 48 yards, 0 touchdowns. Here's the thing. The Eagles are going to get out to a fast start in this game. I really think so. And I think that's going to eliminate Saquon Barkley from a lot of this. He's got a 69.5 rushing prop. He did not get that number last week. I think they're going to have to be throwing pretty soon and Daniel Jones be doing a lot of running. I think we're going under on that rushing prop. You got Philadelphia number 1 against the running backs in fantasy points per game, also allowing only 117.4 scrimmage yards per game. So I think you're just tempering your enthusiasm for him. When it comes to the Eagles, everybody hurts. Jalen Hurts, 7,600 on DraftKings. He's better. Is he better after 2 weeks resting that shoulder? Familia, it's something that really think about, because I went and I looked at him a lot in that I watched that last game that he had where he played against the Giants, and you know what? He looked like I'm going to tell you the truth. I think he looked like he was forcing the ball a little bit. I think he didn't look completely comfortable. How much was that rust? How much was that his shoulder bothering him? They talked about the fact that it was still bothering him on the season. Does that mean that they don't run him as much in this game? I'm looking at this one. I think it's going to be a passing game. It was not he did not have a big passing yardage mark in either game because I think it was largely because they got so far ahead. There were some turnovers that came into play. He only threw for 217 yards in that 48-22 victory. And then in the week 18, only 229 yards. I think they're going to go. I think they're going to attack the Giants via the air. They're giving up 240.3 passing yards per game. So the Giants just got beat up last week. Kirk Cousins, he was able to pass a little bit on them, but you know what? That obviously, Kirk Cousins got some yardage on them, but you know what? It was I think. What's going to happen is Hurts is going to beat them through the air more than via the ground. Miles Sanders is an interesting one this week because the Giants are allowing 145.5 scrimmage yards. So I think what's going to happen, they're going to get out to a lead. They're going to have to salt it away with Miles Sanders a little bit. He hasn't been getting, he's been getting inconsistent touches here and there, but I still think he's going to get home. Getting back to the wide receivers, looking at A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith only, Familia. This is a game. I mean, both of them could go off. I'm actually expecting Devonta Smith to go more because Adoree Jackson did a really, really good job on Justin Jefferson last week. I think he's going to be sticking to A.J. Brown. So I think Devonta Smith is going to be seeing a lot of those passes. I see him getting over 10 targets, and I'm looking at his number when it comes to he at 7,200. I think you save on the 7,600 that you'd be paying for A.J. Brown. Familia. I think it's a good one. It's a really good one. So I'm looking at the over under on this game at 48. you look at this one, they went over in the 48 to 22. I think actually the Eagles are going to struggle a little bit, get out the gate. I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a 28 to 17 game, and so that I'm calling under on that one. So let's keep going on that one. So let's go to Sunday, familia. Vámonos al domingo. Siempre en domingo. You got Buffalo. You got Cincinnati at Buffalo. The rematch of that fateful Monday night game that was canceled. Still, I'm hearing glowing reports that Damar Hamlin has been visiting the Bills practice facility a lot, almost every day. I think it's phenomenal. Keep getting better, number 3. Keep getting better. Salud to you. Salud to you. And so in this game, you've got the Buffalo Bills. We've got an interesting 5-point favorites, 48.5-point over under. I think this is going to be a field goal game, familia. It's gonna be a close one. You got Josh. I think. Oh, by the way, the weather, it's gonna be 35 degrees and overcast. So you're gonna be a little wind, 12 mile per hour. That could gust up a little bit more on game days. So keep an eye on the wind in this game. Both quarterbacks are very good, but you know what? I think they're going to be able to. You got to keep an eye on the wind to make sure it doesn't get up around 20, 25 miles an hour. Over 25 miles an hour is where it really has to be a concern. Though when it comes to the strong arms, Josh Allen has one of the strongest arms in the NFL. He's got 6 touchdowns in his last 2 games. He does have 3 interceptions. Did not look pretty last week against the Dolphins, even with the line at 352 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, added 20 yards rushing. There's this talk about too much hero ball, but Familia, this is the time when you want to look at him and say, hey, you know what? What's he? Who are you going to put the ball? Whose hands are you going to put the ball into? And it's that guy. It is that guy. I look at him. He's just. He's the man. He is the man. So I look in that game. Let's see, what's his rushing prop in that game? It is. Let's see. I'm looking up the rushing prop on that game, Familia, for him. Oh well, actually, let me. We got. Well, first off, his passing prop in that game is going to be. Let's see, we don't have a prop yet on that one, so we'll keep an eye on that one. The rushing prop, do we have one on that one? For 42.5 yards. I could see him going over that, Familia. The Bengals have a pretty good pass rush. They can flush him out of the pocket. I think he's going to get to that number. So looking also at recent quarterbacks against the Bengals, Tom Brady in week 15, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns. Deshaun Watson, week 14, 276 yards, 1 touchdown. Last week, Tyler Huntley didn't always look pretty, but he still got 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He added 9 carries for 54 yards. That's why I really like that prop. I think he's going to get out there. The Bengals are giving up 268.4 passing yards per game to the quarterback. I think I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I'm keeping him in a I've already drafted him in a playoff challenge. So I think we're set at quarterback this week. I think this is going to be a good game. Get Diggs, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis. Very interesting. They both have 19 targets in the last 2 games. Now, Diggs got out of a little bit of mini slump. There was some weather and everything going on, but Diggs went for 7 catches, 104 yards and a touchdown in week 18, and then 7 catches for 114 yards. So he's doing great. Gabe Davis, interesting. A little Jekyll and Hyde action because he got 6 balls for 113 yards and a touchdown after in week 18 catching 3 of 10 targets for 39 yards. So, you know what? kind of interesting on that one. Diggs at 7,700 in DraftKings. I think he's very well worth it. I think it's a good stack with Josh Allen. I think I told you who is at 7,800. I forgot to mention that earlier. And and look, paying down at Gabe Davis 4,800. You know what? It's a dart throw. Tony Romo was calling him Big Game Gabe Davis. Shout out to James Worthy, Familia. You guys know how much I love me some Lakers, especially Showtime Lakers. So so I think 4,800, that could be an interesting pay up. But you know what? A couple of interesting pay down options could be Khalil Shakir and Cole Beasley. So you got Shakir at let me see where's he at. He's at 3,000, and Beasley also at 3,000. If you want to spend up, on, and now this is for all 4 games, Familia. Also, if you want to spend up at other positions, and maybe you're doing the a Kelsey Mahomes stack, or maybe you want to stack, you want to do a double stack where you've got Allen, Diggs, and Shakir. I got no problem with that. I think that's a good way to save some money. I like those guys. Michael Evans and Chris Godwin both got 83 yards each against this Bengal defense. So also keep in mind that they're throwing out there Dawson Knox a lot. 6 catches for 98 yards and a touchdown last week. Mark Andrews beat them just last week for 5 catches, 73 yards. The Bengals, maybe they're showing a little, some holes in the dam. Vamos a ver. But I could see Dawson Knox getting home, and he's not a very expensive play this week. He's at 3,800. He's looks like sixth most expensive tight end on the slate. So we'll see. Looking at the running backs a little bit, James Cook, he is, a lot of people have been talking up James Cook. He's at 4,800 in this one. Devin Singletary is 5,200. I think if I'm taking either one, I'm going Cook at 4,800 just because it's cheaper play. He's got 11 and 12 touches in the last 2 games. Devin Singletary 8 and 10 touches in the last game. Interesting thing, neither one registered a target in either of the last 2 games. And then you've got J.K. Dobbins coming off 105 scrimmage yards against the Bengals. I think it's very interesting, but if I'm taking one, I'm saving some money and going after James Cook in this one. So we're going on that one. Over the Bengals side, Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty. It's been a little rough the last 2 weeks playing the Ravens. He's got 215 and 209 yards respectively. Is he ready to blow in this game? The thing that's got me a little bit concerned, he may be missing 3 of the starting O linemen, 3 of the 5 starting O linemen. Last week he had 11 pressures on him, 4 sacks. The Bills are number 6 in pass rush rate, so it's something that could be a little bit concerning. Does Burrow get slowed down a little bit because he gets some pressure on him? That's why I think that over under at 48.5 is looking kind of tough. But I think he's going to figure out a way that maybe they keep in Samaje Perine, maybe they keep in some tight end to block a little bit extra, to give him a little extra time, because because when I'm looking at that one, the guy that you want in your lineup is Jamar Chase at 7,800 Familia. He has at least 7 receptions in all 5 games since he returned from his hip injury. He had 9 catches for 84 yards last week and a touchdown. He's worth that. He is worth that. Burrow being at 6,500. I think that's a good stack on that one. A good play on that one. I like that one. The one that I'm a little bit tepid on is T. Higgins. He had week 16. He had 8 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. He has a high of just 37 receiving yards since then. So it really looks like Chase is getting home, but but Higgins is not, and at 5,800, I think I might want to save the money a different way. Another guy that we're talking about saving money, Tyler Boyd, Familia, do the Pasadena on that one. Since he had that blow up game in week 7 where he caught eight balls for 155 yards and a touchdown, his high is 51 receiving yards on that one. Do you want to save some money? Like I mentioned, Beasley, Shakir, one of those guys. The Bills, they it's been a little uneven. Last week, you had Skylar Thompson passing the ball, so Tyreek Hill didn't have a chance to really get unleashed. Jalen Waddle had 3 balls that he should have caught that probably would have put his number around 150 yards. So better days ahead for him. So that's why I'm liking Chase in this game. The guy is one of the best is one of the best in the league. He's going to break coverage a lot, and I mean I don't think they're going to be able to stay with him. And he's going to get at least 10 targets, and he's going to have himself a game in this one. The Bills are giving up just 216.4 passing yards per game, and but they haven't faced the greatest quarterbacks of late. So that's one thing to keep in mind on this one. So Burrow is one of the best. I think he's got 9 games with 270 plus passing yards. He's got, what is his prop on this one? I'm looking. I didn't put it on the show sheet. I'm sorry, but I'm looking at his passing prop, and we don't have a passing prop for the Bills Bengals yet. So keep an eye on this. I'll put I'm going to put an article out on this with a little more information once we get a little bit more of that. All the props in. When it comes to rushing, though, the Bills are number 9, giving up 119.4 scrimmage yards per game to the running back. Joe Mixon, it's been at 6,500 in DraftKings, 16 and 14 touches the last 2 games, just 1 touchdown since that week 9 blow up with 5 touchdowns. I'm passing on him. I don't love him in DFS this week. The Bengals, they have given up some yardage. Raheem Mostert had 156 scrimmage yards. Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, they combined for 134 yards, but I just don't like Mixon in this one. I think they're going to go away from the pass and go, and it's going to be the receivers. I said the 48.5 point over under. I'm going over on this one. I think this is going to be 28-24, 27-24 game where I think that the Bills win, but I don't think they cover in this one. So Bills Mafia is going to be very happy this weekend. All right, we're finishing off in San Francisco. Dallas, the Cowboys at San Francisco, 3.5 points. San Francisco favorites, 46 point over under. It's 54 degrees, partly cloudy, no rain in the forecast. This is just bringing me back so many memories. You got Montana to Dwight Clark. Shout out to mi amiga Whitney, who RIP. Dwight Clark, favorite player of all time, number 87. I know how much the number 87 is for you. But yeah, that game, all those incredible battles during the 90s with, when the changing of the guard went to Young, and then you got Young and Rice, and then you had Aikman with the trips. So this could be a good game. Dallas, you got Dak Prescott. He's got 14 total touchdowns since week 15. That's including the playoff game last week where he was just absolutely incredible. 5 total touchdowns, 4 passing. 305 passing yards. The one thing that people have been talking about, he's got 6 interceptions since the start of week 15. So keep in mind on that one, the 49ers, where they have been beatable has been via the air. They're giving up 274 passing yards per game. They're number 15 against the quarterback. Geno Smith got him for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jarrett Stidham had that monster game in week 17 out of nowhere. Fue una locura. 365 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If you're going to beat the 49ers, it's got to be through the air. You're not going to be able to run on them. They're giving up since week 12, 59.8 rushing yards per game. They're number 4 in total fantasy points allowed to the position. So the game's gonna be put into Dak's hands. Dak, his DK number is 6,100. I could see a cheap stack. You got CD Lamb in that game. He's at 7,300, possibly a way to get in here. He's got at least 6 targets in every game since week 11. He's got 3 games with 100 plus yards and a total of 4 touchdowns over the last 5 games. So he is getting plenty of attention from Dak Prescott. I think this is, he's going to be going for his big guy. Another possibility though is Dalton Schultz. He's going 4,200. Now, the 49ers are pretty good against the tight ends. They're number 13. Darren Waller did get them for 72 receiving yards on 3 receptions, got a touchdown in week 17. Otherwise, it's been fairly quiet against the 49ers. I think when it comes to the passing game, the only 2 that I'm looking at are those 2, Lamb and Schultz. Is Michael Gallup a punt play at 3,800? Possibly. I still kind of like Shakir and Beasley a little bit more. Gallup did get in the end zone, caught 5 receptions, 46 yards. Very much a possibility. Over on the running back side, Tony Pollard had 18 total touches for 89 yards last week. The interesting thing with Zeke Elliott, though, is just how his production has really tailed off. He had 81 total yards, in week 14 against Houston. And things have just slowed down. He hasn't come close to that number ever since. 36 rushing yards last week on 36 total yards on 14 touches last week. I don't like Zeke or Pollard this week. If it's either one, it's going to be Pollard because he can get some yardage in the passing game a little bit. Ken Walker last week, 15 catches for 63 yards and a score. Josh Jacobs, 95 total yards and a touchdown again in week 17. So, there's you can get home a little bit on that one, maybe in the with a little bit of passing work. Speaking of passing, let's go to the 49ers side, kind of close things out. You got Brock Purdy. He's got 16 touchdown passes in the last 7 games. So, last week he was just fantastic. 332 yards, 3 touchdowns. Looked a little bit uneven. It was the second half where he really kind of pulled away. So that, he added a rushing touchdown. It's funny. My amigo Jesse, we did a little playoff challenge. He picked Purdy in the first round, just kind of as a joke. And it ended up paying off. I called him a brujo because of that, and he advanced. So, he's in our Final Four in that league. So you got Purdy. He was only pressured 8 times last week. This week, is it going to be different with Parsons there? Parsons was just an animal last week. He looked fantastic. Looking at some of the quarterbacks against the Cowboys of late, Brady went for 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. You got Gardner Minshew, 355, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In week 16, Trevor Lawrence, 318, 4 yards and an interception. So, Familia, there is, the people have been passing on the Cowboys. And when they pass, I think we've seen what Deebo Samuel does. Those 6 catches for 133 yards, that long touchdown that he had was just a thing of beauty. It was yak. That's how Brock Purdy gets home on this one. Deebo added 32 receiving yards. This was by far his biggest game of the season. Deebo is a guy to keep an eye on. I'm looking at him. His DK number is, let's see, it is 5,900 for me. That could be that to me that feels pretty cheap. I'm looking at that one. He is a guy I really want to get in my lineup. Brandon Ayuk also been looking fantastic. These are his targets the last 4 games: 7, 12, 5, and 5. In that game, he had 81 yards, 101 yards, 59 and 73. So he's been able to be pretty efficient with those targets. I think Ayuk is a guy, but the guy I'm really looking at is George Kittle. 7 touchdowns weeks 15 to 18. It was kind of quiet last week. 2 catches, 37 yards. The Cowboys are giving up 263.2 passing yards per game. there's they could be they could get beaten. I don't. Dallas is number 5 against the tight ends, so something to keep in mind there. But when it comes to the wide receiver, they're number 31 against the wide receiver. Familia, I love the San Francisco wide receivers this week. Those two that we talked about, and the most when it comes to love, CMC 8,000. He's the most expensive running back or receiver in the on the slate. Just last week, 17 total touch, 146 total yards, touchdown. He had that beautiful run where I want to know what he was looking at. Was he looking up at the screen as he was going through? So CMC at 8,000, I think you can get him into a lineup if you're trying to save and maybe go with the stack of CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. That could be a good stack. You got Elijah Mitchell, 11 catches, 11 touches, 27 yards. Familia, he's a guy. He's a guy that's kind of just by emergency only. He's a little bit on the. He is cheap at 4,700, but you know what? Spend up on CMC on this one, Familia. All right. That gets you ready for the divisional round, Familia. I really appreciate you joining us. This has been great. A couple of shout outs to some of the people in the chat. Dame Overboard, yes, number 42. Number 42. You know why James Worthy wore number 42? It was because Jackie Robinson. Yes, he was there. Mr. Scampers, muchas gracias for joining us. Thank you. You are the coolest cat. And yes, I would fade Hayden Hurst this week. Because he's going to be helping out and blocking on this one. So stay away from Hayden Hurst on this one. Familia, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Hope this helps you win some money. Make sure you're getting out to fantasypoints.com. Get your 30% off on your subscription. Also, make sure you're giving a like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Familia FFB, that's all you need to do. Get us in there, and you'll be able to. That'll keep our numbers growing. And like I said, we're going to be continuing this podcast all throughout the offseason. We're going to have some great guests. We're going to talk about the draft and everything. But right now, we're getting you through divisional round. So again, one more time, make sure you're giving. If you want to get this on the audio version, go to Apple, Google, Spotify. Muchas gracias to Anchor for getting us there. Keep an eye on an article coming out on FamiliaFFB.com. I'll get it out there before the game, and just enjoy this. Again, Familia, this is the best weekend of football that we're going to see all year. I wouldn't be surprised if all the games were close ones, even the ones that have pretty big point spread. I could see a close one, but again, remember, todos somos familia. Salud.